This episode of the Coarse Grind Podcast has been brought to you by Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, family-owned and operated screen printing and embroidery business located in a historic storefront on Old Berwick Road in the heart of Espy. They've been doing screen printing for over 20 years. They have high-quality product at a low price. Be sure to check them out. Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, 570-784-1212. Now, on to the show.
Hey, this is Chef Justin Sutherland, and you're listening to Shawn on the Coarse Grind Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode number 103 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With you as always this evening, host, creator, Shawn Rosler. How is everyone doing this evening? You know, not to not be unpredictable, but, well, let's just say we're drinking from the proverbial Top Chef fire hose again, ladies and gents. And what's more, it's bourbon flavored because, well, why not? So if you haven't figured out by now, old one-trick pony me is once again taking advantage of one of the best seasons ever and bringing on yet another rock star of a chef from the Kentucky season. Yes, it was that good, as in I may still be watching the season on demand good, which I am. I have no life, kill me now. And tonight's guest, when watching the season, reminded myself of myself. Well, at least the whole standing in a hot tub cooking part. Because, you know, we've all been there. But anyway, moving on. Born in New Hampshire and raised in Nashville, tonight's guest sought to express himself creatively as both a chef and a musician from an early age. After years of touring as a musician and cooking barbecue at the historic B.B. King's Blues Club, he set his focus on a career as a chef, enrolling in the Culinary Arts program at New England Culinary Institute in Montpelier, Vermont. After graduation, he traveled west to Big Sur, California, where he began his fine dining career at Sierra Mar at the prestigious Post Ranch Inn. From there, he returned to his New England roots as a sous chef in St. Albans, Vermont, before joining Chef Mary Dumont's team at Harvest as executive sous chef. Tonight's guest then served as the executive chef at Citizen Public House and Oyster Bar, chef de cuisine at Post 390, and co-chef at Townsman alongside Chef Matthew Jennings. In 2013, he was named to Zaggett's Boston 30 Under 30 list. He has competed on Beat Bobby Flay, rather. Why wouldn't we say Beat Bobby Flay instead of Bobby Flay? Cooked at the James Beard House and at many Cochon 555 events across the country. For all these accolades, though, I'd like to think one of his greatest culinary contributions has been his motto, quoted in a recent Food and Wine interview, about how best to compete on Top Chef. Turn off your brain. Look, people, if you're looking to get into the kitchen, that's a great way to relax and be one with the food. Turn off your brain. See, there's a motto that this host, anyway, can get behind. So let's cut the bullshit and get down to it. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, our guest this evening, New Englander, James Beard vet, Top Chef Kentucky standout, and so much more that I just found out, Chef Brian Young. Chef, how are we doing this evening?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm certainly fantastic after the news you just dropped on me. That's like splashing cold water on me right before I open up a song. You can't recover, and I don't want to give anything away, but maybe that's what's called foreshadowing in the podcast business. Woo! But no, man, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this evening, and I know you're a busy guy. I know more of that now, so we want to get right into it. Folks new to the show, folks with terrible short-term memories like myself, starters, mains, and afters. Starters, we're going to talk about where the guests came from, how they got where they are today. Mains, we'll talk about where they're at, what they're doing. And afters, a little bit more irreverent, a little bit more off the cuff, but no one's been injured in 102 episodes, so I don't see that happening this evening. So without further ado, Brian, talk to me about where and what you grew up eating.
Okay, so, I guess probably the whole story of how I got into food starts, with my dad's family, really. So, I spent a little bit of time in New Hampshire growing up,
Mm-hmm.
But my father is from South Georgia.
Ah, okay.
And that's where he grew up. But his parents are from North Carolina. So, we are a pretty deep-rooted Southern family.
Yeah.
Just going to visit my dad's mom,
Mm-hmm.
who I call Nana. Just being in the kitchen around her, watching her cook.
Yeah.
I got interested in it. I started asking for like little kitchen gadgets and things like for Christmas.
That's awesome.
Just weird.
Yeah, man. And like, what was she making for you? What do you remember? Like talk to me about like the earliest culinary memory. What speaks out to you?
Big standouts for me are, whenever I was at, Nana's house, we ate, big Southern breakfasts. I mean, like coffee cakes, biscuits, eggs, slab bacon, grits, cheese grits, which I probably were one of my first loves, as a kid, homemade jams and, and even like at dinner, she was always making like chocolate mousse or, something. So it was always like just that convivial experience of growing up around the Southern table. It just all of my greatest memories of being a kid, of growing up,
Yeah.
Really surrounded, family and food and, being together, just around the table.
No, heard, man, heard. And as a former English teacher, I have to point out that Chef did just use the word convivial. And folks, take note, please, for the love of God, use big words. They're awesome. But that's so cool. And one thing that stands out to me, and it doesn't stand out to me because, I know that, South and grits are like, pancakes and butter or whatever. But for those unaware, and unfortunately, Chef, there are folks who remain unaware, they view grits as just this very simple one-note item. Talk to us. Give me the Democratic presidential candidate pitch for grits to be like dish of the nation and go.
So I guess grits, the reason they're important is because, obviously one of the main products produced, in the Southeast is corn. And it's not just ground corn. I mean, my Nana, she always had, great artisan, grits. That was before anybody used the word heirloom anything.
Yes.
And
yes.
I guess what it is really it's like a warm, sort of a cornmeal, like a coarse cornmeal porridge. I mean, Italians eat polenta, Southerners eat grits. It's the same exact thing. We had cheddar.
That's right. That's right. They not necessarily.
But I guess it's it's really important. It's just about like the culture of the South and how Southern food developed. It is a humble dish, as I think most really dynamic, important dishes to any culture are. They're sort of simple, humble offerings, and it's just something that you eat and it sort of warms you up from the inside out. It's just it really is as much about soul as it is about sustenance.
Totally. Absolutely. 1,000%. And now I have to ask you a very specific question about grits. This is going way off script, but listen, I crossed the 100 mark. I have no format anymore. I just go wherever it takes me. So my wife just got introduced to Geechee Boy grits.
Geechee Boy's a great company.
Okay. Why are they like the shit? And why? Why are they? Like, what is so... And believe me, having had an array of grits, she made those, and they're outstanding. What makes it different?
They are. Well, first of all, Geechee Boy and, other companies who are doing similar things, like Anson Mills,
Mm-hmm.
Was started by, some seed savers basically people who are trying to reintroduce almost extinct varieties of things, things that existed before, factory farming and, just sort of the homogenization of all corn needs to be yellow and this big, so it just, these are the varieties of corn. They're the very old ones. They're the ones that would have existed, the first time white people ever ate corn. These are the types of corn that would have existed. So, that's why they're important. And I suppose the second reason why they're so great is because they do not have like a giant warehouse of just grits sitting around waiting for people to buy them or, for grocery stores to order them. You have to order them from Geechee Boy or from Anson Mills, and then they grind them on, stones that they've been using for, over 100 years. The same way they've always been milling, corn in the South, since, before the Industrial Revolution. So,
exactly.
You're sort of getting a bit of the best as far as, the varieties of corn.
Yeah.
And you can order different varieties, which I think is really cool. And then the second thing is, you're sort of participating in something that's historical.
Yeah.
And just part of the fabric of how things in the South have always been done.
Yeah, and like, I didn't mean to make this, episode 103 with Geechee Boy Grits featuring Chef Ryan Young, but my wife was grilling me, and she gives me shit now, because apparently once I crossed 100 episodes, it's like, well, you have to know everything there is to know about things. And I'm like, I still don't. Thank God for Chef Ryan Young, because you might have just bailed my ass out of something here, so thank you, buddy. So, you have these wonderful southern influences in this northern clime. Safe to say, variety-wise, you weren't a picky eater, pretty much. It seems like you had enough of a culinary surrounding that, you had just the best of the best.
Well, I mean, so, the thing is about having like a southern grandma is you, first and foremost, you eat the food that's in front of you. That is
straight.
Not a suggestion. You don't get to go to bed without dinner if you complain. It's like you will sit your ass at the table until your plate is clean.
Yes, sir.
And my dad always used to joke, that he's been a member of the Clean Plate Club his entire life and never got a reward or a membership card. So,
Nice.
I mean, it was just, you don't have the choice. Like,
Yep.
kids, I've, noticed like now, people are like, oh, well, they won't eat, they won't eat this. It was like, that was not a choice for me growing up. It's like, you will eat it because you will not insult your mom or your grandmother, period. You will not insult what she spent all day doing. You will sit politely with your hat off and your elbows off the table.
Yes.
And chew with your mouth closed and eat it. And those are the rules.
Yes.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. And we were talking about, someone else's kids, who we'll mention in a little bit, but, my three boys, I know I was talking to you last night about putting them down, they sit down and they know the value of a good meal. They know the food that's placed in front of them. We do make that clear to them. And there are a couple things that, like, tonight we have a pretty extensive garden. I'll text you a picture of it. We're pretty proud of it. But yellow tomatoes, for some reason, for the middle, like, it's a weird kerfluffance, and he just turns away from it. I'm like, all right, then eat your yellow squash, and he eats it. I'm like, all right, that's a trade-off for me. So I'll trade off one or two ingredients.
Fair enough.
But you are going to sit there, and I like what you said. You're not going to insult your grandma. You're not going to insult your mom. You're not going to insult me. Sit down, eat your meal, and get up with your clean plate.
Right.
I like the Clean Plate Club, too. Maybe that's something I start. I'll run with that. So here you are with this amazing, scene. I don't know how else to explain it. And there's got to be one or two foods from that childhood, say like 12 and before. There's got to be one or two foods that give you that nostalgic pang, like you miss them like a childhood friend. What are they?
Oh, yeah. When I was a kid, my favorite meal was chicken and dumplings.
Oh,
My mom made them for me on my birthday. That was like my birthday meal. Every year for dinner, we had chicken and dumplings. So that's the thing that like tugs on my heartstrings. Like if I go to, you know, like a great Southern restaurant, like a very storied Southern restaurant, you know, and I have, you know, it's almost like going to a cocktail bar and ordering a Sazerac. You know what I mean? It either is one or it isn't one. You know, it's either right. You know, it's like a litmus test for me now for Southern food. It's like if you're a Southern restaurant, you have chicken and dumplings on the menu. As you know, I get that little, you know, lump in my throat. I get a little, you know, I don't want to say I get misty, but you know, it's just it like tugs at me.
No,
when I have that.
Absolutely, man. That's exactly why I asked that question, because, you know, when I first started this 5 years ago, you know, as I'm writing these questions out, I thought, you know, am I weird that every time, and it's not a lot because most people don't just make a simple yellow cake chocolate frosting. And yet when I have yellow cake chocolate frosting handmade, it instantly takes me back to being 6 years old and my Darth Vader cake. And like that connection, I always wondered, I'm like, God, am I that fucked up? Did I get dropped off a table when I was young? Or like, what happened to me? But then like the more folks in this field who I publicly fanboy over, you know, I realized, no, I'm not weird. I just maybe should have gone to culinary school instead of e-learning, but whatever, you know, we let that slide. But no, I totally
you're
get.
Lucky that you did.
But yeah, exactly. I totally get that misty-eyed sentiment. You know, in that birthday meal, our oldest is 11, and I think every year since he's been 6, all he asks for is like seafood. It's practically feast of the however many fishes at Christmas time. Like we make every variety of seafood we can get our hands on, and he eats them. And he goes to bed with a bloated gut like I've never seen before. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. And chicken and dumplings, what a poster child for the, you know, litmus test, as you put it, of the Southern dishes. It's incredible. It's, you know, it is like a totally satiating, like warm meal that, you know, requires a lot of love and care to make, and you know, it's like you know, it was definitely like a special occasion dish in my house, you know. Yeah.
And then I would say, you know, my other one, the other thing that I, you know, really no one can touch, no matter how, you know, every Southern chef tries, is my Nana's pimento cheese.
Oh shit!
Which I ate on soft white bread.
Yes, yes.
You know,
lights out
with
right
nothing.
there. Mm-hmm.
And that, you know, that for me is like every, you know, I like to have fun and order it, you know, just so I get to, you know, send a text to my Nana, who now has an iPhone and uses emojis. That you know, I've been to this world-class restaurant, and you know, I can't wait to, you know, eat her real pimento cheese again.
So that speaks to a duality, which I like to pick up, because I like to feel it out before I fully pull back the curtain on myself. Like, I'm well eaten, solid palate, whatever. I'm like a midget amongst giants when I do this show. No question. I embrace that. I'm fine with that. I've gotten a chance to cook with amazing chefs and just feel blessed by it. Let me tell you something. There is nothing better than that pimento cheese, using it like as a dip, pretzel, solid, game on. Talk to me about pork rinds. Now that we're breaching the southern front, talk to me about the pork rind.
Well, I mean, there's two schools of thought, you know, with the pork rind. You know, some people like crackling, which is like a pork rind, but you have to chew it a lot more and still has some fat left on it, and it doesn't puff up all the way. And then, you know, you have more of your I suppose, like fully, aerated, more of a pork rind, kind of a situation that you would be more familiar with, like coming in a bag at the gas station, which I think, is the, they are what they are. But you don't understand until you do it. I think when you do it from scratch, the humble pork rind, the amount of attention and care and work that goes into a proper pork rind is huge.
Yeah.
It's like you get in the whole hog, you use all the rest of the parts, and then you've got skin, and then you cook it for 3 hours, and then you take it out and scrape it and dehydrate it, and it's like this giant, circus of all these things that you have to do to really make a great one. And, so people don't understand when you're eating like a real homemade pork rind, it's, representing hours worth of work and attention, from somebody, because it's so easy to screw up. It seems like the simplest thing, which is really, so full of like skill and care. I have a great amount of respect for that.
But that rolls back to the grits concept. It's such a simple concept, and yet at the same time, my wife and I bought a timeshare property in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And believe me, this is going somewhere. And we did it before kids, naturally. And then we had kids, and we didn't go forever and a day. But we ended up going back in like 2015, right when the show was kind of starting to take off. And I'll never forget, always been a fan of the pork rind. I've actually done, chicken chicharron, where like, you skin the chicken thigh and you leave that out on a silpat, put it in the oven, and they crisp up nice. But let me tell you something. It was a humbling experience to see this grandmother who looked like she should have been dead. I love her dearly. Honestly, I'd tell her to her face. I'd check her pulse. I'd look her in the eyes and say, listen, I'm doing this because I think you're dying. She is over a black kettle in the street, the side street in Old Town PV, just stirring and stirring these big sheets of pork skin. And I look over. They
do it so well.
Holy shit! I look over in this fish tank, and I'm like, what the fuck are those? And this guy comes over. He's like, amigo, ¿te gusta? I'm sure, yeah, sí. I've never tasted something better in my life. Like, I stopped. I had to sit down. I wasn't being dramatic, but you tasted that love. And so when you look at grits, when you look at pork rinds, I think when you look at a good amount of Southern fare, which to the haughty Northerners comes off as sometimes simplistic, like shut up. There's so much more to it than that.
I agree with you 100%. And, it's it's the things that seem simple when I think that the gift maybe, and also the curse of Southern cuisine is it's just now starting to get viewed as cuisine.
Right.
It never was before. It was just like this sort of, humble, hearty thing. And I think that the real standout is that it doesn't seem like that big of a deal.
No.
Like, it's like, grits. But it's like, okay, so grow corn, dry it, get it off the cob, mill it on stone, it's, there, there is, there's like truth and history and, soul in the entire process of that humble thing that's sitting in front of you, which I think is the thing that not just Southern cuisine, but I think that all cuisines which are, humble in root, share the exact same fate, which is being viewed as not important when, because maybe we have, in our humility or in our, graciousness, have hidden how hard it is to do these things.
Yeah. No, for sure. And, again, not to, go back to the One Trick Pony, because God knows I'm a Top Chef fan. But, like, the show has done wonders for what we would probably refer to as historically underrepresented cuisine. Now, Southern, I think you've got your Art Smiths, and a handful of others who have been very vocal about it. But your season 2, Eric Adjepong, who's done the show, a couple seasons back, Laura Cole, who's an absolute sweetheart, Alaskan cuisine is finally getting its own. So it's cool, and people like to bitch all the time that food media is too present. Oh, what's new? There's so much that hasn't been brought to the forefront yet, and we're finally starting to see that. I'd love to see Southern cuisines. We've done barbecue by state, right? Let's start to look at some of these states and these regions, because like the South isn't just the South, gang. New England is part of the North, and look, I hate the fucking Patriots, left, right, and sideways. But I love the food. We were actually just, sorry, buddy. We were just up in Maine, and I had to hide my gold and black blood from people, because I'm like, oh, God, a Steelers fan up here amongst the heretics. Oh, I better hide it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but...
I'll tell you a funny story.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Chris Boswell, the kicker for the Steelers?
Yeah.
That is my first cousin.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 103 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. I'm going to go die. Are you... You got to be shitting me, man.
No, man.
Oh,
nice. Absolutely serious.
Nice, man. And I can assume, though, you're not a fan. You're a Patriots fan.
I'm a big fan of Chris Boswell.
Oh.
And also a Patriots fan. And I always want him to make every single place kick that he does, even against the Patriots.
If you ever hang up food, you should run for office, Brian. Holy shit, that was deft. That was nimble, man. That was well played. Oh, I cannot believe it. That's incredible.
So anyways, I'm sorry for the aside, but...
No. Are you kidding me for that? Like, 1 degree of separation? Like, my friend went to high school with Henry Hynoski, who came over and played pool on my pool table with his Super Bowl ring on. So I'm like, okay, this is not a bad deal. Although he was a Giant, so we let that slide. We let him in. It's cool. Yeah. So, getting back to the food here, Brian. Jesus, we're going to be on here all night, aren't we? So, God, man, the Southern... This is the cool part about doing the show. Obviously I got some Southern influence from watching you, but you don't get the whole story until you talk to the person, the pulse, the heartbeat behind the plate. And that's the best part about doing a show like this. But fast forward just a little bit. You have all this food, you have all this food culture in you growing up. Right. What was the moment when, now I know, music happened. When did cooking not only come into frame for you, but also be the end game for you?
I guess I was I was a musician. We went on tours and all, kinds of that stuff. We recorded albums, and, I was always, I was working in kitchens, and then as they always do, ill-fated indie rock bands break up. And, I just was sort of like plunked down, like in my regular real life all the time. And, I was, a food runner at a barbecue restaurant, BB King's in Nashville.
Yep.
And, I just hated going out in the dining room all the time. I really didn't like it at all. And the guys in the kitchen were always like laughing and joking around. They seemed like they were having an awesome time. And I was like, I want to do that. Like, they're having a way better time than me. And I don't want to like change jobs because that makes too much sense. So like, I'll just change, I'll switch sides. So, I asked the chef, whose name was, Seth, who I still speak to. I asked him if I could cook, and he was like, well, have you ever cooked? And I was like, no. And he was like, well, why do you want to do this? And I was like, I don't know. I just want to do it. My best friend was, one of the cooks, probably like the head cook now, if I look back on it. But, I was like, whatever. That way we don't have to come to work at different times, or I don't know, trying to rationalize it. And he was like, okay, go peel a bag of onions. And I was peeling the bag of onions, trying not to embarrass myself. I had never held a knife, professionally or otherwise, really, other than, just screwing around at the house. And, I was definitely not used to the ruthless kitchen banter. And, I was just getting made, the cooks were just making fun of me the whole time. They were like, Jesus, man, you're just peeling those onions so fucking slow. Like, hurry up. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? Why are you holding a knife like that? You look like an idiot. What's wrong with you? All the while offering no help at all.
Exactly. It's no yin and yang. It's just straight fucking yin. It's like, fuck, yo.
Oh, absolutely. So, they're all screaming and laughing at me. And these are, aside from my buddy, everybody in that kitchen was, I was probably 18, and they were all, everybody besides my buddy was probably in their 40s. They'd all been doing it for, 25 years. And, I guess I made it through. I ran the gamut. I made it through, and, without breaking down and crying, barely. And I just, they started me on, on the salad station. And then you move to fry, and and then I got really into it because I got sick of getting my ass kicked. That restaurant has like 300 seats. We were doing like 900 covers a night. Wow. It was just nonstop. And one of my other buddies, just from the punk rock scene, he was a cook at like a fine dining restaurant, like the Spanish restaurant or something, and I didn't know anything about food, really. I knew I could cook a burger. I could, make a shitload of fried food really as fast as I could, not even as fast as I should have been, probably. He was like going to move to Alaska and go be a chef in Alaska or something. He was like, I need somebody to replace me. Who wants this job? And I was like, I'll take it. I'll go. Because it was a small restaurant, and I was like, it'll be way easier. It's like so small. And the first thing the chef had me do was butcher chicken. And I had no idea. Like, I thought chicken just came in a giant box. Like, oh, it's like, this is the chicken breast box? And he was like, no, that's the chicken box.
That's the chicken box, man.
And I was like, no. Like, what, you want me to cut it up? And he was like, no, you have to take it off the bones, dude. And I was like, I don't know. Oh, my God. I have no idea why, after that stage, I have no idea why he hired me. I think he was an old punk rocker from like the 80s. Nice, man. And I was like this, snot-nosed, like, young guy that he sort of related to, and he gave me a leg up. Nice. And he hired me, and then he, I think, regretted it every day until I went to culinary school. Because I got sick of that job, and I was like, I gotta learn how to do this. If I'm gonna do it, I gotta learn how. I'm just sick of getting screamed at because nobody will teach me anything. So, I went to culinary school. That's the beginning of the career right there.
Nice,
the whole thing.
Man. That is, and that leg up. I think everybody, if you're the culinary student listening in, if you're the high school student thinking about culinary school, understand. And I think definitely in this day and age, the one thing that, I probably look at food media, as do most of your co-competitors, they make it look like it's a very much A to B path. Like, hey, go to culinary school and be on a reality show. It doesn't happen like that.
Right.
You gotta take your bumps. I've worked line. I've now had the privilege, thanks to the show, of actually co-cooking an event. She called it co-chefing. I almost killed her. With Beth Aretsky, Grill Bitch, Tony Bourdain's Grill Bitch, and
awesome.
We cooked at Hudson Valley Brewing. And just random gigs like that. But like, here's the thing. Here's me, the host, and people are like, oh, you must have gone in there and knew what the fuck you were doing. I went in with my head down, and yes, chef were probably the only two words I spoke for a solid 12 hours. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Give me the work. I will not. And it's refreshing because I'm so in control with a lot of the stuff I do. But man, when you can go into that and you have somebody at the helm who knows their ass from their elbow, that's a great feeling at the end of that shift, whether it's 12 or 16 or however many hours, and you survive or 900 cover, like, that's a damn good feeling. And, you know, here's you realizing that. Fast forward to today, look at you, Brian Young. You're a Top Chef veteran. You're, you know, Beat Bobby Flay veteran. James
Right.
Beardhouse veteran. But
Right.
I've got to break form again and say, what are you doing right now, Brian?
Well, right now I am currently living in Cincinnati, Ohio. I left New England.
Oh, why are you living
I
there,
love
Brian?
I live in Cincinnati because I met Kaitlyn on the show, who, you know, she was a contestant, obviously,
Yes.
in season 16. And, you know, we struck up a friendship. She was opening a barbecue restaurant, which is really hilarious that I'm back doing that. But, you know, I had a lot of experience with barbecue and, you know, I had even taken a break from New England to be, the chef at a barbecue restaurant in South Carolina for a couple of years. And I knew a lot about it. I knew a lot about smokers and, you know, equipment and what you need and what to expect. And, you know, I just ended up on the phone with her all the time. And, you know, and she is a great chef, absolutely, in her own right. And, you know, she was fulfilling a need in her community, for a barbecue restaurant, you know, sort of a gathering place for the community, which I think is what barbecue restaurants represent, to me now. And, you know, she just, she asked for my help and I gave it, and then I ended up down here. I'm helping out a couple of times, and, you know, just, one thing led to another, professionally, and then, you know, they just sort of asked me, you know, what would it take, you know, just to have you here all the time? And so, you know, that's definitely the, abridged version, but, you know, that's what I'm doing now is, Kaitlyn and I are, co-executive chefs of, Walk On Enterprises, which is, and it encompasses both of her restaurants in Cincinnati.
That's so cool, man. And to the listeners, to everybody listening in, I didn't know that until about, 5 minutes before we went live. And
that's true, yeah.
I'm trying to collect my thoughts. I'm like, holy shit. And I have to admit, while we're interviewing, I saw Kaitlyn was on Facebook Messenger for a second. I'm like, why didn't you tell me about Brian? Like, that's such an incredible...
What did she say?
She didn't say shit. I think she's like, I got 5 kids. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Like, this is the beauty of the show. And I swear to God, we're going to get back to the format and talk about you and talk about but like, you folks, as seasons, and I've seen it increase, I've seen it evolve, because initially, seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, they knew each other, they didn't really give a shit afterwards, and there was more focus on, like, the interpersonal drama. What I love about Bravo, and I'm not a Bravo employee, listen, Bravo, if you're listening, love to be, but I'm not a Bravo employee. Here's the thing. The last easily 6 to 7 seasons, if not beyond, I've seen become almost like this fraternity, sorority of just people with joint visions. There was no drama, no bullshit. Probably the worst thing I saw out of your season was the whole, what was it, the pre-made, it was the basketball episode.
The box waffle.
Yeah, the box waffle. There it is. Like, that was the worst thing I saw. And I'm like, okay, but I can move on from that.
Can I just jump in real quick about the box waffle? Can I just say something in Sarah's defense?
Yeah.
Whom I love dearly.
Oh, she's fantastic.
You know, everybody on our season loved each other a lot. You know, you get caught up in the competition, and, you know, we are all friends. Like, we are all wonderful friends still to this day, and we have a text thread that is, disintegrated into, just sharing hilarious stories almost all the time at this point. But, the thing about the box waffles is that the box waffles that Sarah used they were like a heritage product, available only in Kentucky and mixed at, a mill that was really similar to like a Geechee Boy, which is in South Carolina, or Anson Mill is also in South Carolina. But, it was really like an heirloom product, and it was like a special product. And that, that's the thing that she used. And, I think, she was like, I use this all the time. I always use it. Like, what's the big deal? You know what I mean? But it was just sort of sensationalized. So.
Well, I think
she definitely stands behind it. Obviously, it's making the final two. I mean, she made the finale. But, it wasn't even a misstep. She didn't do anything wrong. She just did what she normally would do.
Absolutely. And I think everybody watching it knew that. Like, I don't think anybody, obviously editing played it up to be what it was, but it's just like that was the big tragedy on your season. Whereas, back to season 2, it's the head shaving incident. It's this like awful dark era who Marcel, I don't know how many times I have to mess you. I won't shave your head. But like there's clearly been an evolution of the competition that's appeared on the show. And I think that's just, it's truly great to see. So pushing that forward, here's Kaitlyn and you working together in this phenomenal situation. Right. Talk to me about how inspiration works in the restaurants now as opposed to when it was just Kaitlyn. How do you two work together?
Well, we work together really, really well. And I think the reason is just because we come from different schools of thought where, I came up through barbecue and I've done it here and there. It seems to be, or has revealed itself to be kind of my true north is I love it. For lots of reasons that I could probably talk about forever. But, and I'm kind of I was definitely portrayed as like the meat guy, and that's because I am. That was a true portrayal. And so I sort of attack creativity from a different way, than she does, where she thinks about the totality of a meal, and then myself as, a trained butcher and, somebody who came up through sort of the French brigade system. I attack things differently. Like I think about protein first of all. I always do. Unless I'm doing vegetarian dishes and vegan dishes, which I also do. But, I think about protein. I'm protein forward. And I think about technique. I'm like a technique driven guy, which I think probably was the kiss of death for me on the season.
We won't talk about that, Brian. Move on. Go.
But, I'm very technique driven and I like to do things that take a long, long time. And, so, and she's so fast. Yeah. She's so quick. Like, she could have like a dinner for 60 people in 3 hours. And I'm like, what are you making for it? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You don't know. Like, what? How do you not know? And then she does it and everybody's like worshiping her, rightly so. Yeah. Because, what she served is incredible and amazing. And, so what we do is we sort of attack the creative process in a different way. Like she thrives in the spaces where I shut down. And so, and that's not to say that she's not thoughtful. She's just quicker than I am.
Yes. No one's saying you're not thoughtful, Brian, but I will say, listen, as a dad of 3 kids, you got to be on your feet. And 5 kids? Yeah. I don't know what the hell she's got over there, but keep doing it.
Well, she has 4, but
is it 4? I thought it was 5. I'm sorry.
It's 4. But who's counting anyway?
Exactly.
I mean, what's the difference between 4 and 5 at the end of the day? I don't know.
Nothing.
I have 0.
Nothing.
So.
Right on.
And that's a big difference.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a difference. But that's, again, it's just so cool to see two people merge together from a season, and not just merge together, because you'll see some, like, friendly banter, but, like, as fans, to see you two work together at both, now, what is it? It's Station Family and CWC the restaurant, right?
Right, so Station Family and Barbecue and CWC the restaurant. And CWC is like, you know, that's her baby. I mean, it's like it's got 57 seats, you know, it has like a chef counter, and you can see everything she's doing, and, you know, all of her food is so full of like soul, and, you know, she is, definitely, a lover of experimenting and sort of dabbling in different things and pulling other things from her personal experience, because she has a super rich history, you know, in food as well. Like family-wise. So she pulls a lot of that, and, you know, we come from just different schools of thought. So when we write menus together, I, you know, think, you know, and, you know, pardon the, you know, fluffing here, but I think, you know, the things that we come up with are incredible because, you know, we think differently, but we work together so well that what we come up with is, you know, great food. It's like a truly collaborative effort, and, you know, we sort of cover each other's blind spots or teach each other something that we didn't know, you know. And I'm not shy to say out loud that she does all of the planning and preparation for the desserts in the entire company. I think everyone is well aware that I'm not good at that. But, you know, I just, you know, it's really, like a rich experience for a chef to sort of meet your creative counterpoint and be able to work with that person.
Oh shit, yeah.
You know, and create something that is, you know, really great and something that you're super proud of, and you just know when you put out that plate, it is a representation of, you know, your best. Not, oh, sorry, Frank. That is your best, not just as a, you know, as a chef, but, you know, what you're offering and guest experience and everything else.
That's awesome. That's so awesome to hear, man. And so proud. Again, Station Family Barbecue, CWC the restaurant. Those of you who have listened to the show before, the Kaitlyn episodes, they're mentioned there, and here we are again mentioning them. So, I mean, they're amazing places. You know, so you're in the helm with Kaitlyn, and again, cool observation to have about the kind of yin-yang, the point-counterpoint situation. My wife is a Virgo, I'm an Aries. I'm very, like, free-flow, attack, and she's very plan. And yet, like you said, you find those places along the way where that alternate approach definitely benefits. So cool you guys are connected that way. Let's talk about, you know, now you're back in the helm, essentially two, but really one. What's the next big thing coming down the pike? Now, I typically ask in food, but let's talk barbecue, because barbecue has trends.
Okay.
What do you think is going to be the next big thing in barbecue? Is it a region? Is it a new, like, offering to the field? Is it just kind of a change up? What's going to be the next big thing?
Well, I think one of the things that that attracts me to barbecue more than anything else is the same way that I'm attracted to, you know, craft butchery, like the old world ways of doing things. You know, it's just sort of cooking with fire and, you know, huge, you know, pieces of meat, butchery, you know, all of these things that I love very much. And I think one of my favorite things about barbecue in general is that, you know, where it may trend or, you know, be cool or not be cool, you know, people are always going to eat it. Mm-hmm. And, mm-hmm. you know, it's a part of, you know, what we love in America. Like, barbecue is American food. So, And I think the thing that attracted me most to it is just that, it is what it is. You could, I can sous vide a brisket for whatever, 36 hours, and, sorry, people are saying bye to me at the restaurant. You could sous vide a brisket for 36 hours and you get something different, and you put a light smoke on it, and, that's great. And if you are a person who calls that barbecued brisket, then that is your business. But what I love about barbecue is just it's sort of primal, and it changes, but it doesn't change, Even if you're cooking a new thing over fire or whatever, it's still ultimately it's cooking over fire. It's cooking meat on fire or vegetables even.
Meat and fire. Well, yeah, vegetables if you're of that inclination, but as you are protein first, as am I, sir. And I would strongly align myself with your cause there. Having just actually, the funny story, we did the 100th episode. I had Brian Baltazar, who was just on the Today Show today, co-hosting, and again, Beth Aretsky came to Bloomsburg, co-hosted the live event with us, raised a lot of money for the food pantry, and Beth and Chef Michael Pardis, head of Asian Studies, CIA Hyde Park, and a bunch of friends came back, and I had actually braised some brisket. I braised about, 16 pounds, couple nights prior, and you could reheat. That's cool. I got stuck though, like last minute, with about 6 pounds of brisket and kind of my dick in my hands, going, I got hungry people the following night, because they were gonna go home the next day. They get up all hungover, all let's day drink, and we're staying. I'm like, okay, what do I do with 6 pounds of brisket and about 6 hours to go? Go. And right there, that primal instinct of fire meat good kicked in, and it's like, all right, well, we're gonna butterfly it. We're gonna basically cut it down, and we're gonna rub it with some, brown sugar salt, and 6 hours later, people were munching over it, and yeah, it certainly wasn't gonna be James Beard ready by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that primal instinct that you talk to, that never goes away. It's like, feed my family, cook the meat, cook the thing, do the thing over the fire.
Right.
Yeah, for sure, man. So along that line, though, there's got to be stuff that pisses you off about barbecue and about what people do with barbecue that you'd like to see go away. What's your leading pet peeve? Don't worry, no, we don't have to name names, but go ahead. Let it go, Brian.
Let's see what upsets me about barbecue. I think the competition barbecue thing, and not all of them, but some of them kind of irk me. One of my cooks at station, he did a barbecue competition, and he's done barbecue for a long time, and he just started doing competitions, and he went and he grew everything that was in his garden, and he made the bread that he put on the plate, that piece of white bread with the pickles on it, which is a total tradition.
Yeah.
He did everything himself, you know what I mean? And then he came in second to some guy who got lucky. But, and he, and I guess afterwards he was talking to him, and and the guy was like, well, this is only the 9th time I've ever used a smoker.
Oh my God,
it's
stop.
All right. Well, so the thing that bothers me about the competitions is, if I have, 1 million hours to fuss over one brisket, that's great. But, and that's something that Aaron Franklin, from Franklin Barbecue says as well. It's
for sure.
It's about consistently producing a great product that you can be proud of, that people love, and they keep coming back for in mass quantities. Because when you get successful at a barbecue restaurant, it's forever busy, because It just is. I mean, that's how barbecue restaurants work.
Like you're out of ingredients. Like that's when you close, right? When you're out of shit, you're done.
Exactly.
Right.
And I dealt with that a little bit the other day. Well, I had somebody mad at me because I ran out of brisket. We are open from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Somebody got mad at me. I probably shouldn't say this, which is probably why I should say it. But
exactly, you should say it.
He got mad. He got mad at the restaurant because we were out of brisket at 9 p.m. It's like, well,
how are you going to be mad about that shit? Like, stop it. Here, I'll go on the record for you. This is not Chef Brian. This is me talking. The guy with the podcast, the lame guy. Listen, you want to get brisket? Show up a little earlier. That's going to be the first thing people attack. It's not his fault. Right. It's not anybody else's fault but yours that you missed out. There's a limited amount of dead beef laying around waiting for you to consume it. If you miss out, that's your fuck up. Yeah, let it go.
Not just that, it takes between 9 and 12 hours to cook it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't have time. It's 9 p.m. You come back tomorrow. I'll give you a piece.
You want it that bad?
We'll eat it together.
Exactly. We'll link arms. We'll do the Lady and the Tramp thing, and maybe our lips will meet in the middle. So go away, angry person. Brisket is for happy people.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I just think that's the part of the barbecue culture that is. It's different than other cooking because, I don't know. I mean, all cooking takes a great amount of skill and care and, there is such a thing as beginner's luck, but, it's hard to have devoted your life to something and, come in second to, somebody who just happened to, give his fire enough logs to, keep it consistently at 220 or whatever. For 12 hours, it's like
agreed.
He didn't really know what he was doing. He didn't really understand. He just, just kind of dumb luck. And so,
agree.
That, and I think the other thing that probably pisses me off about barbecue is, the, sort of the blind, love of the things that people have had at other places. I mean, like, we do a lot of, like, our barbecue sides. A lot of them are, pretty non-traditional. We do like a watermelon salad that I use rice wine vinegar and lime juice and all kinds of things, which is really a play on, for a period of my career, I got really obsessed with, Thai food. And so I love to pull that sort of, it's almost like a papaya salad that I just use watermelon for, or, just a tomato salad. That is simple. It's like a very simple thing, and it's all about the tomatoes that we get that are, locally, they're from Ohio and they're amazing, or, and all I want to do is show off the tomatoes. You know what I mean? And then people are like, "Well, don't you have baked beans?" And I'm like, "No, I don't have baked beans. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't like baked beans.
No.
I lived in Boston, which is like the epicenter of the universe for baked beans, and I didn't like them then, and I don't like them now, and I don't want to serve them because I don't want to. So leave me alone.
I feel like we're letting out a lot of demons here, buddy.
Maybe. Probably should keep my mouth shut.
No, I love it. I love it. No, I agree. Like, people, expect, well, I want the standard, but then in the next breath, they'll bitch that you're not giving them anything new. It's like, what do you want?
Yeah.
You want A or do you want B?
So,
either or.
So we just, you just stick to you pick a path and you stick to it. And what we do is really great, regional barbecue. We represent a lot of regions because Cincinnati doesn't have their own barbecue, and I'm lucky enough to have been, exposed to a lot of different types, and Kaitlyn is the master of research, and, she did an excellent job, opening this place before I got here. And so, it's, definitely, barbecue, it can't be taught, it can be, but it's really, it's about experience. It's about feel. You could have the same degrees in a smoker, 5 days in a row, and set the smoker for the same amount of time and set your timers and check it, and it's, there's so many factors, and if you don't know what you're looking for, you're not serving good barbecue. Exactly. And, and so it's, it is a soul thing, it's a feel thing, and it's an experience thing.
It is. So. It is totally, and I think almost, not to wrap back around, but it goes back to grits. It goes back to chicken and dumplings, these simple things. Like, barbecue can, in theory, be called simple, and yet put 10 people against each other, and you will have 10 different products, no question.
I agree. 100%.
Totally.
And everybody will believe their product the best.
Oh my God!
Everybody's is the best.
Everybody's mama's is like it doesn't matter. Yeah. Everyone's got the best. So, man, so here you are, literally living what I imagine feels like kind of a dream in a way. Like, to hook up on the show, to make a connection like Kaitlyn, who's amazing again, can't say enough nice things about her, and now to be working with her. Talk to me about the 3 to 5 year plan. What happens next for you?
Well, I'm here now. I'm not going anywhere. Through many new and great situations and some hard situations,
Sure.
Which I won't get into. Kaitlyn and I are, we're not just, professionally partners. I mean, we are, in life as well at this point. So, I haven't said that out loud in public or in a public setting like this before, but, there's a multiple reasons I moved to Cincinnati, and it wasn't just to run a barbecue restaurant.
Right on.
I guess I'll let people put that together. So I guess part of the plan,
connect the dots. Connect the dots.
That's right. We'll just let people put it together. But I think part of, what our plan is, just to really make sure that these restaurants are successful and amazing, and, from guest experience to, how we're, chopping parsley. I mean, very detail oriented, but, and then, other projects, like more projects, together, and, just sort of settling into, like a different type of life. I lived in Boston downtown for years and years, and,
sure.
Now I live in like the burbs in Cincinnati. Everything's great,
nice,
different, and it is exactly what I needed in my life. So
blood pressure's a little lower, I'm sure, at this point.
Way lower. Way lower.
Having just driven by Boston, going up to Maine for vacation at Moody Beach, holy shit, I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. Like, I've driven through Manhattan, and I'm like, fuck Boston. All right, I'm done. I can't drive by here. It's killing me.
Well, that's the whole joke.
Yeah.
Is that, New York is in grids, because they want you to know where you're going and how to get there.
Boston does not give a shit.
Boston is because fuck you. That's why, because we don't give a shit. Don't you dare look me in the face and ask me for directions.
Exactly.
Because I don't have time. I don't know you.
Exactly.
Like, when people in Boston ask you where you're from, they mean what street. Don't you dare answer if you don't know.
If you don't know, just move on.
If your grandparents didn't grow up on Woodward Street in Southie, don't you dare answer that question. Just keep walking.
Yeah, I'm such a Dropkick Murphys fan, but now I'm kind of scared to, like, ever go to a show up in Boston. I'm like, oh, God, shit, am I going to survive? I don't know. But...
Eye contact is considered a physical challenge.
Yep.
In any setting.
Holy shit. I won't speak to specifics, but I ran into a couple Bostonites up in Moody, and yeah. And, like, I'm not a real threatening guy. I'm a big guy, but, like, I don't think, like, when I look at you, but it's like, no, I don't really want to fight. What? I just looked at you. All right, fine. Forget about it.
Right. No.
So,
I mean, that's the hilarious part. I mean, it's like, in the part I miss about it, I suppose, is sort of the, Bostonians and their curtness and their, they will just say exactly what's on their mind.
Yep.
Like, if you're just, like, staring off in the distance and someone steps in the way on the train, and you don't even notice them, they'll look right at you and be like, hey, buddy, see anything you like? And it's like, holy shit, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to look at you, man. Like, I wasn't looking at you. I swear to God.
God, all right.
So Cincinnati is a total change. It's a 180. Like, everybody's nice. They're like, hey, how are you? I know everybody here.
Yeah,
I don't know you, so tell me your story. And I'm like, I didn't come here to talk to anybody.
Should I look you in the eye when I'm telling you this story or not? Are we gonna fight or?
Well, my problem is I'm so used to Boston now. After 12 years, I'm so used to the way Boston is that I'll go to a place because I want to go to it. I'm not going to talk to people, and so accidentally over a period of years, I became a Bostonian. I became a Boston chef, and it's sort of a funny state of affairs to be in a completely upside down environment from where I came from, and honestly, it's a refreshing change.
Oh, I'm sure. No, and in speaking to Kaitlyn during our interview, we were coming up on the 100th show, and I'm like, oh my God, you got to come over for the show, and she was like, oh my God, I'd love to. It'd be great. I'm like, you are the coolest, sweetest human being ever. You kind of remind me of somebody from Pennsylvania. Like, what happened? and then as I'm driving up through Boston, I can't tell you the tally count of middle fingers, but it's high.
Oh, yeah, man.
It's really high.
That's the Massachusetts turn signal. You didn't know?
All right, now I know, apparently. The middle finger is the turn signal of Massachusetts.
That's right.
Writing that down.
It means a lot of things.
As we speak. So, awesome. So glad to, see where you landed, see what you're doing. Again, as a favorite of mine from the season, just great in general to see how not only you landed, but how you've connected and how things are happening for you. So it's just phenomenal as we bring the mains to a close. So, couple quick afters. Gotta ask you them. They're kind of mandatory for the course. Sorry, you're gonna have to suffer through them.
Okay.
I'm standing in your kitchen. You can pick professionally or at home. Your pick. What music do I hear? Go.
Oh man, it really depends on who is picking the music.
If you are.
If I'm picking the music, oh man, you know what I did today? Just to be super hilarious, I put on the Essential New Wave playlist on Apple Music.
Nice.
I think it just mixes people up because, generally what is pouring out of the dish pit is like completely irreverent rap music. And that is, from the high school population of suburban Cincinnatians that we employ.
Absolutely.
Who have no idea what's happening in the songs they're listening to.
Again, if you ever drop food, Brian, run for office. Again, you walk through that like a fucking minefield. Well done. Go ahead.
And so, I like to mix it up, but I mean, if I'm picking my favorite music, the stuff that I love to cook to, I love, sort of like soulful, sort of neo bluegrass stuff. I'm really into,
nice.
Tyler Childers and Sturgill Simpson right now. But my roots are in punk rock. So, you could either hear, some Eastern Kentucky hill music pouring out of the kitchen, or, you might hear, Black Flag, which is, probably my favorite band of all time. It's just,
dude,
or a mixed bag.
I'm gonna text you a picture. Do you ever watch Hot Ones on YouTube? The one where they do the 10 wings across the table?
No.
Oh my God. So, one, you gotta watch it, but two, I was watching, as I was doing some e-learning consulting late last night, the Hot Ones episode with Henry Rollins. So, they eat 10 wings, hot sauces increase in intensity, and I didn't get to watch it. It was like 1 a.m. I was fried. I'm like, I got to watch this one tomorrow. But old Henry was right there. I got to meet him once, and what a short human being he is. Have you ever met him?
No.
He is a small dude, like, incredibly small dude. Like, you would not expect this. But anyway, more on that. So Black Flag, punk scene, phenomenal. That's, obviously right in my wheelhouse. And when you get your shirt, you'll appreciate the Ramones reference.
I am really psyched.
Yeah, so, like, Kaitlyn got the old CBGB shirt. You're going to get the new Ramones shirt. Because at 100, we changed logo. Next question. You're going to be stranded on a deserted island. Totally hypothetical. We're not going to fly you out there now and freak you out or anything like that. You can take 3 foods or food type items with you. Inexhaustible supply through magic. What would they be and why?
Whole pigs.
Nice.
Because I love butchery, and they're super versatile, and I just like eating pork. I think, let's see, would definitely bring, if I have an inexhaustible supply.
Inexhaustible.
Oh man, that's hard. That's harder than it sounds.
That's what she said. No, because when when my wife asked me for episode 20, I'm buying you time, Brian. When my wife asked me for episode 20, I said beef, bourbon, and beer. It wasn't even like a hiccup. And she's like, oh my God, you're going to have like colon cancer. And I'm like, I'm on a deserted island. How much do you think I care about this shit?
All right. Well, that's fair enough. Bourbon for sure, because
why not?
I love it a lot. I drink less now than I used to, and that's a good thing.
Damn straight, me too.
I love it. I'm not like a beer guy or anything like that. So, shit, probably. I love. It's sort of weird and embarrassing. I love like apple butter, but like super duper like canned apple butter and not like homemade. Like I'm a.
Why are you embarrassed of that, dude? Listen, I gotta tell you.
I love it, man. I love like the big jar of like the super dark apple butter that probably has things in it that I can't pronounce, and I don't care because it tastes really fucking good.
Oh, listen to me, man. I married a Pennsylvania Dutch girl. I have the inside track for you, man. I'm not fucking around here.
Oh, fuck. I fucked up. Because I fucked up, and I didn't even say a thing, and I don't know. I would probably even trade bourbon for this one.
What's that?
It's just from my time at New England Culinary Institute.
I'll give you an extra. You take it.
Brain, and they beat the shit out of you with this, and it is grade A Vermont maple syrup, man. It makes everything better. It's my ultimate secret ingredient. I put that shit in everything, including my coffee in the morning. Don't fuck around. Maple syrup. I would trade any of those 3 for maple syrup.
Wow, man. Holy hell. You heard it here. Vermont maple syrup, the real deal. Damn. I'm not getting in your way, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what I did to you, but I'm sorry. You're angry now. All right. I'll let it go. Vermont maple syrup. He's just going to take 3 inexhaustible supplies of Vermont maple syrup, and I
would trade all 3 for it,
It wouldn't give you much variety. It would give you diabetes quick as hell, but okay.
If I could pour maple syrup on like, tree bark, and it would be delicious. What else do you need?
Well, would that be reverse cannibalism?
I'm going to do it in a delicious way.
How does that work? Is that reverse cannibalism?
I don't know. Maybe.
Here we go.
Maybe maple syrup makes people taste better. I don't know. I've never had people, but I bet it would.
It's Soylent Green. It's people. It's people. Wow, this is going downhill fast. Holy shit. Hey, have you ever heard of Melanie Denea? How do I transition out of that?
Have I ever heard what?
Melanie Denea. And her
No.
book, My Last Supper. So it was a photo book.
Oh, I do.
Ah, excellent. Have you seen
You know her.
the next course?
No.
So she did a follow-up to it. I will send you pictures of all the shit. I promise you. But My Last Supper, I was in a used bookstore on vacation in Philly. It was actually before we saw U2 in 2005. Maybe it was? Yeah, I think that's it. And I picked up a used copy of My Last Supper. And it was life-changing. And so a lot of the format here in the show, I tip my hat to Melanie Dinea. You know, it just works. But anyway, she did a follow-up, the next course. Marco Pierre White's on the cover, holding a big round of bread in front of his face. And so if you've heard of My Last Supper, you understand that, you know, the whole book centers around 5 questions, which focus on, you're checking out tomorrow. What's your last meal?
Right.
So, obviously,
Wow.
the late night chef game, you knew it was coming sooner or later. What would your last meal be?
Okay.
Who would be there and why?
Last meal ever. Oh, God. I mean, can I do, like, Gary Danko's answer? Did you read that book? Because Gary Danko is, like, surrounded by drag queens feeding him grapes, and his,
yes,
and his
yes,
answer
bud.
is, like, 5 pages long.
Yes, it is. It is.
But I guess, like, knee-jerk reaction,
Yep.
I would be around, you know, all of the, you know, my family and the people that I love the most. You know, I would probably want to eat my mom's chicken and dumplings, my Nana's pimento cheese, but not on white bread, probably smeared on a great tomato.
Nice.
And eat a shitload of copa, and have 5 bottles of Lambrusco and drink as many Sazeracs as I possibly could.
Nice,
And-
man.
And would be blasting, I would probably be blasting, you know, Black Flag and music that everyone who I invited would hate the entire time they sat there.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, dude, so much in my alley. Like so much of the music I love. My kids hate, my wife hates, my parents hate, her parents hate.
Oh,
And it's like, all right, cool, hate it. Have fun.
yeah. Well,
You know. Having been brought up kind of a ska rat, I was in a ska band in college. You and I have the music.
oh, yeah?
You and I have the music bond there. And, you know, used to, you know, take a certain kind of rip and blow it through my horn when I was playing a solo. And, you know, it was just this thing we did. And so, like, when I listen to ska, I love it. There's not a family member, I think, who appreciates that music style at all. There's not a family member who appreciates punk. Maybe the middle kids getting into it because of swimming, but, like, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. No, nobody likes it. But if it's your last meal, piss on them. Kudos to you, sir.
Well, you know, you listen to different music tomorrow when I'm dead.
That's right.
How about that?
Yeah, you want to change the channel? Wait until
Shut
my
up.
pulse
This
stops.
is my dinner.
Be quiet. And finally, Chef, the last question, the simplest question, but the hardest of them all. Food to you in a single word.
Food to me in a single word, powerful.
Oh! Did you just pull... Hang on a minute. Let me type this in. Unique answer in 103 episodes. Well done, sir. I've never had that
Really?
answer before. Never had powerful before.
Wow.
Wow.
It's- yeah.
So why? Why powerful?
I don't know. Food is dynamic in its power. It's power to bring us together. It's power to convey emotion, to, you know, to express togetherness or art or culture, or to represent, you know, even, you know, to represent marginalized, you know, marginalization and, you know,
That's a great point.
you know, I mean, it is as the human race. I mean, we are represented by, you know, what brings us together. And I think you know, for as long as, you know, human beings have existed, you know, food has been it has been sort of really the glue that holds us together as a culture. You identify with people who, you know, believe what you believe about this thing. But it's also non-polarizing because, you know, it's okay if you don't like their food. It's okay if you like yours better. Or, you know, if you're adventurous, you know, everybody is so excited to share their food culture and history with you. And so its power to bring us together culturally is also dynamic.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, powerful is the first word that comes to my mind.
You're right. And that's probably one of the last bastions of we're going to respect each other. You know, because, well, if you go to this African tribe in the middle of the fucking desert who has like 2 scarabs to rub together and they give you this food, well, you chew it, you smile, and you nod graciously. We're at the point now where we can't express an opinion without tearing each other's jugular out. So, like, food might be it. I think Bourdain was onto it. Like, it's the last binding element.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Bourdain was definitely onto it. And,
Yep.
you know, that's why he was great, because he was able to show us things we've never seen, and, you know, he had a great literary voice, you know, to tell a story. And he had, you know, a wealth of experience in, you know, this industry to lend him credibility and knowledge, and, you know, he was really the first voice that made being a chef cool. I mean, it was, you know, we were, you know, 20 years ago, being a chef was, you were basically a marginalized, you know, human being, and, you know, working nonstop in a room with no windows. Yep. Nobody knew who you were or cared. Yep. You know, so he's right about a lot of things. I think that's one of them.
You're spot on, man. You're spot on. And you, sir, were right about a number of things, and just such an absolute pleasure to have on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this evening. And I'd like to congratulate you. And this is where you ask for what, Shawn? And I answer, you, Chef Brian Young, episode 103 of the Coarse Grind Podcast, now hold the official heavyweight champion of the world, longest episode in the history of the show. 5 years plus.
I'm sorry.
No, dude, this is like a blessing. I love it. As I'm watching the time go by, I'm like, he killed it. He got it. He got it tonight. And you certainly did, sir. So congratulations, Chef Brian Young, the longest episode in the history of the Coarse Grind Podcast, 5+ years. Well played, sir. And I could not have possibly asked for more. And again, I know you're a busy dude. I know you're getting set up out there. And with this new news, I'm going to pick the fuck out of your brain. Like, you might want to turn text notifications off from me, because I'm going to be like, hey, you know what I forgot to ask you?
No.
But it's awesome. So, you know, folks, if you want to check Chef Brian out, along with Chef Kaitlyn, in Cincinnati, you've got 2 options to do so. You've got, first of all, Station Family and Barbecue at 400 Wyoming Avenue, Wyoming, Ohio, 45215. If you're looking for reservations or information, be sure to call 513-679-6797. Then, you've also got the CWC Restaurant, located at 1517 Springfield Pike, Wyoming, Ohio, 45215, 513-407-3947 for information, reservations, and everything in between. And, man, I just cannot possibly wish the best for the both of you. You know, great friends of the show.
Thank you.
And I certainly, as I oftentimes do, extend, if there's ever anything the show can do for you guys, reach out, let us know. We're here for you. It is a vehicle for education, if nothing else. So, man, Chef Brian, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. It was like a total pleasure, and I'm sorry if I talked too fucking much.
Dude, you did not at all. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 103 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With me this evening, the co-exec chef of Station Family and Barbecue and CWC The Restaurant, Chef Brian Young. Our producer this evening, as always, has been the lovely, voluptuous, and svelte, yes, I said it, Johnny Leland Robinson, a.k.a. the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Be sure to check out all his steampunk libertarian happenings in the 18431 Honesdale, PA region. And next episode is going to be episode 104, bringing it home for a homecoming. Stay tuned.
Hey, do you like coffee? Do you like gourmet coffee? Do you like really amazing gourmet coffee that's a total steal and just happens to be based on a culinary podcast? Well, look no further. The Coarse Grind Podcast has teamed up with the Mr. G Coffee Company to create the perfect custom blend. Dark as the logo itself with hints of caramel, sea salt, and dark chocolate. It is luxury in a cup at an incredible price. Be sure to check out their site today, MrGCoffee.com, and order some now.